Today I effed up by accidentally buying a semi-tractor. I work for a large company that builds roads. Due to this, we have many trucks. Everything from compact pickups to dump trucks to 18-wheelers. This is a story about the last category. So, as our trucks age, it's easier to buy new ones than to keep the old ones fixed. Some of the older trucks live in semi-retirement, pun fully intended, as yard vehicles, used for personal transportation around the plant or to pull trailers around. Once they're really worn out, we auction them off to employees. Each truck has its own number. And each auction has its own lot number, because sometimes the trucks come with accessories. The truck numbers do not match the auction numbers. This is important. An old 3/4-ton diesel pickup was being auctioned off at the same time as several other vehicles, including a couple semi-tractors. You might ask why I want a worn-out pickup, and the answer is I'm a redneck. Plus the Cummins engine was still good, and can sell for up to $3,000 in my area. This truck's number was 206. Auctions are by silent bid. You put a sealed envelope into a collection box, with a lot number, amount you're willing to pay, and your name. So something like jeepsaintchaos bids $500 on lot number 206. Which is exactly what I put down. Any other time, it wouldn't have been an issue. Oh, he meant truck 206, which is lot number 36. We had sold a lot of trucks that year. Lot numbers were high. Guess what lot 206 was? Yep. A 1993 Kenworth. My boss pulled me aside a week later. Hey jeepsaintchaos, you want an auction? Go down to the shop and pay for it. Yay me. I got the pickup I wanted. No. Oh God, what have I done? Sitting there waiting for me was a beat-up old Kenworth. An entire semi-tractor, with an excessive number of gears, an engine larger than my entire car, and enough power to move 100 pounds without blinking. It got 6 miles to the gallon and blew enough smoke to single-handedly cause global warming. Explaining the situation didn't help. Sir, you bid on it. Here's the paper you signed. It's all yours. Could I have made a stink and backed out? Maybe. But I would have been disqualified from further auctions. I would have dishonored myself, and I could afford the 500. Whatever. Totally my fault. I was saved by a coworker though, who actually wanted the thing for his farm. He paid me 600, which gave me a neat little profit on my learning experience. TL. Doctor mixed up auction number and truck number and accidentally bought an 18-wheeler. Sold it for a profit within an hour. Never tried to drive it. I don't see it today. I effed up here. You made a 20% ROI within an hour. That's a win in my book. Unfortunately, my name is on the title. This truck shouldn't ever see the road again, but I am legally required to title it in my name. Depending on my coworker and the titling fees, I may end up owing far more than that 100 to get it out of my life. After he completes his inspection and decides what to do with it, I'll find out if I have to title it and pay taxes. Why not sign the title over to them? Does it work differently with commercial vehicles? In my state, it would be a skip title. I purchased it, so I legally need to register it in my name before reselling it. Unless I was a dealer, which I am not. I signed the title already. Now, chances are he's going to just part it out so I won't have to do anything with it ever. This is the way it works in most states. At least some states have provisions to sign the title over to another party without transferring it with the state. If you read the fine print, this is for dealers only. It's a common misconception that you can sign the title over to another party and if things don't go smoothly can cause major headaches and you can wind up with some serious fines. I'm just amazed that you can buy a semi, in any condition, for only $500. I'd almost buy one just to say that I own one. I find it hard to believe. If I could buy a running semi for $500 I would buy 10 of them. As a cheapskate that buys their cars for well under $1,000, upkeep on a fleet of 500 semis is going to absolutely brutalize you. Haha, I agree there. I would definitely be buying them to resell them. I don't know how old this Kenworth was. But no matter what, 500 or even 600 is a goddamn steal for that. Let me just assume it's pretty old. Like 90s maybe. Being a 90s Kenworth, it likely has a Caterpillar diesel. Something like a 3176. That motor alone can sell for $3,000. Case in point, here's a used 1992 Caterpillar 3176 from a Freightliner for $3,500. Or a 99 for $3,000. Hell, here's just the block of a year 2000 for $950. Honestly, your buddy with a farm probably has the tools and know how to strip that bitch down, is likely going to sell it for parts for a mean profit. Edit Sauce Dash. I grew up in a 1985 Freightliner with a Caterpillar diesel with my truck driver father. Oh, the memories of sleeping across the two front seats with a cooler in the middle propping up my lower back. Just doing some Googling, and an average semi weights about 10 tons. The pricing of recycled iron is about 100 a ton and a car is 175 a ton. So if you just send it to a recycler you could get at least 1K just in scrap metal. This makes me think of a funny story. So around 2002 my father was looking to get rid of the Freightliner and upgrade. A buddy of his knew and called him up to let him know that a company up in Connecticut he worked for had a brand spanking new Peterbilt for sale. Cheap. Dad, how do you know? Buddy, oh, they bought it for me. Dad, excuse me? Buddy, they wanted me to work for them. I told them to get me this Peterbilt all blinged out with chicken lights and chrome and I would sign on. I worked there a couple months and got a better offer elsewhere so I left them. Now they have this 250K truck sitting in their lot doing nothing. Bet you could score it for 140K easy. Dad, you're a dick. I'ma call them right now. So my pops goes ahead and buys this truck. We picked it up in Manchester, Connecticut and headed right to my grandmother's to start stripping all the chicken lights and chrome. My father wasn't much into that bling, some chicken lights of course. You need them for visibility. But this truck was like a goddamn carnival driving down the highway, it had so many lights. We stored the chrome stacks and bumper in the hayloft, strapped on a normal steel bumper, and got back to work. A couple months later I was back at the farm working and had to go up in the loft to moving some stuff around to make room for that year's hay. And that's when I noticed the 12-foot stacks and bumper were missing. I go tell my father and he immediately knew what happened to them. My cousin Craig. So later that day Craig comes sniffing around the farm for scrap when my dad comes out to confront him. Dad, so moron, what did you get for my muffler stacks? Craig, I don't know what you're talking about. Dad, I didn't just fall off the Rudebaker truck. Where'd you scrap my stacks? Craig, I scrapped them for $50. I can pay you back later this week. Dad, $50? Those were worth $900 a piece, you moron. Proceeded to kick my cousin's butt all up and down the driveway. Thanks for the interesting story. Can't sleep and it kept me busy for a bit, so much appreciated. If being stoked on a running 12V Cummins for $500 makes you a redneck, I might be a redneck. Sadly, it sold for about $2K. The rest of the truck was junk including the trans. I'll get the next one. Hopefully. I have a 2002 F-250 with the 7.3 that I want to get rid of. Are we talking about the same thing here? I've been wondering what to say about it and price it on Craigslist. Those bring stupid money because a lot of people think that's the only good Ford diesel ever made. Search for other ones and price similarly. But actually, what's a 93 Kenworth worth? I would imagine much more than $500 in scrap value alone. I have no idea, nor do I have anywhere to store it or a license to drive it. You're probably correct though. It's super hard as someone outside the industry to estimate the value of the truck. There are 1,000 different specs to account for before you get into its age and roadworthiness. That being said, if you are in the US and this was recent, that truck could actually be worth a ton of money. 1. There's a major supply shortage of new trucks, and spiking demand. The value of every truck that moves has gone up over the past few months. 2. Old trucks get grandfathered past new EPA regulations, making them cheaper to run since you don't have to necessarily deal with the stuff that makes it a single-handed climate changer. The demand for these older trucks is huge. 3. If it does run, then there are absolutely parts inside it worth scrapping. A quick Google search just showed me a 1993 Kenworth T600 with no engine that is listed at $11,500. It can be tricky finding the right buyer, but definitely worth getting professionally appraised by your local used truck dealer if it's not too late, especially if you are worried about losing money from titling fees and stuff. Source: work in the trucking industry. Yeah, part of the value calculation is who you are and how long you can hold on to it, and how you can find the buyers. A junk car in my front yard that I might pay somebody to get rid of might be worth decent money to somebody with a few acres of pick-and-pull wrecks full of old parts. They have room. They have customers. Sometimes I cringe a bit when I put things in the donation box for Goodwill that I know I might have it used for later. The only thing that saves me from being a hoarder is that I know that 6 boxes of miscellaneous bolts and wires and cables only contains 110 wire that I'm going to need later. So I'm paying 10 to get 6 boxes out of the garage for the rest of my life. I think this is something I've needed to be told for a long time. I think I'm going to reevaluate my pile of miscellaneous parts tonight with that thought in mind. The thing that finally convinced me was, I did a reorganization and I found total of 3 unused packaged USB extension cables. Meanwhile, I know I bought one anyway recently. Lesson: having too much stuff meant that I didn't even get value out of the things I had when I needed them. Good luck. I'm a child of a hoarder and the habits are there. You could have parted that out for some bucks. Assuming the drivetrain is good, that engine and trans should fetch 20K pretty easy. It turns out that today I effed up, wasn't buying the truck. It was selling it for $600. Definitely. I've bought trucks, used them in the field until the suspension, brakes, and tires were destroyed, then parted them out for usually more than I paid in the first place. For some reason, when I saw the title I thought of these memes where you type I accidentally in the Google search bar and it autocompletes with weird suggestions lmao. Even without a Class 1 license, it can be useful to learn how to drive one from someone who really knows how. Many have two transmissions in series, a 5-speed and a wide-range 2-speed that is operated by a flapper switch just under the knob. You shift the first 5 gears just like a car, then flip the 2-speed switch up, and go through the same 5 gears. You only press the clutch all the way to the floor on first gear when you are at a complete stop. All other shifts are with the clutch only 1/4 the way down. After a while, you'll be able to get the RPMs right, and shift without the clutch when shifting between two 10 undefined. A 10-speed is really easy to get the hang of if you already know how to drive a 5-speed since it's just a 5-speed twice. 13 and 18 speeds are a little more complicated. Never driven a 13, but I know an 18-speed has the same flapper, plus a splitter switch on the side of shifter that splits each gear. So your first time through you're actually running through 10 gears, followed by the final 8 on the second time through after using the flapper starting where second gear is in a 5-speed since both gears on the first gear hole are the same ratio as 9th and 10th. The only other one I'm familiar with in any sense is the 8LL, which is just a 10-speed, but the bottom 2 gears are granny gears. I only mention because it's common in dump trucks. I've only ever driven a splitter-equipped truck. The main thing you need to learn is what the difference is between the gear you are in and going to next. You have to match RPMs. On a grade, in traffic is not the place you want to learn an unfamiliar truck. So how much did the pickup go for? $2,500. A working Kenworth for $500. Deal. The real feep up here was selling the Kenworth for $600. I would have ran to go get my CDL at all cost and drive the damn thing.